Hi, it's Maggie the Irish Gypsy here to bring you your April 2019 general reading. We're looking at the first half of the month here from the 1st to the 15th. Welcome to everyone joining us here today. Thank you for taking the time to tune in, newcomers and returning people, followers and subscribers. Thank you for those of you who take the time to send in all your support, feedback, and comments. And a big thanks to all of my clients out there as well, regular and new, for keeping me so busy with personal readings. As many of you know who follow me, if you are interested in setting up a personal reading with me live or recorded, you can get more info and contact details by clicking on the description link below or going to my YouTube channel's homepage and clicking on the little About button there. You can email me directly at maggie1mcguire@gmail.com. I'd be delighted to work with you. I can usually respond to any initial requests the same day or the first 24 hours. And since I do readings full-time, 5 to 6 days a week, it is all that I do. I'm pretty diligent at working with both your and my schedule to get you a reading in as timely a fashion as possible. So if you're interested, send me an email. We'll go from there. I do a wide variety of readings in all areas of life. All right, let's move right into this reading. This is for the air sign of Gemini, our beautiful twins, for the first half of April 2019 from the 1st through the 15th. If you know your rising sign, moon sign, Venus sign, watch those as well, can provide additional clarification. General readings, as most of you know, always play out, resonate a little differently for everyone. Okay, Gemini, let's see what's in store for you for the first half of April. All right, Gemini, we begin with the 5 of Cups, followed by the World. We have the 8 of Cups, followed by the 10 of Swords. And from the bottom of the deck, your overall energy and focus for the first half of April is the 9 of Swords. Never really a card I like to see, as I always say, because the 9 of Swords represents basically fearing the worst possible outcome, obsessing over something, your thoughts going around and around and around in your head, perhaps keeping you up at night. Kind of negatively obsessive energy. It usually shows up when someone is in fear of a future which hasn't played out yet, and it's always imagining the worst possible outcome when in fact it is not that bad. This is about kind of building things up in your head that are worse than the reality of the actual situation, but not seeing any insight or clarity because you're only focused basically from one perspective, and that perspective is always negative. So that energy can be, lessened to a great degree by kind of taking a step back and widening your focus, looking at the situation from different aspects and different perspectives. I mean, the source of whatever your worry and concern is might be quite valid, but this is about blowing it up to be some big, horrible, enormous thing, future tripping, as my kids call it, fearing the worst, and not being able to really think about much else except for this. So let's take a look at this. We have the 5 of Cups and the World. And the World is right next to the 10 of Swords. You have the 8 of Cups, which is walking away and kind of grief over what's lost or been changed in your life, which is what the 5 of Cups represents. You can see this man is completely focused on these 3 goblets, which are tipped over and spilled out, which represent some kind of loss or change, what no longer is. And all his attention and energy is focused on that, almost obsessively so, just like with the 9 of Swords. Can't see anything else, not willing to look at anything else, only focused on the past or what the loss or grief of the situation is. But this is the 5 of Cups, not the 3 of Cups. Right behind this man are these 2 beautiful goblets, still upright and full, representing either something still to be salvaged or something which is still beautiful remaining in the situation, or opportunities, but you're not seeing that because your focus is only on what's happened, what's been done, or what you've done. And it's interesting too because in the 9 of Swords, there's this little owl on the windowsill, and owls are one of those universal symbols for wisdom, enlightenment, a solution, clarity, insight. But she is also not seeing that, even though it's very close to her, just like these cups are right behind this man, because you're only focused on the worst possible outcome or the negativity of what's happened and not seeing anything else around you. So be careful with that energy, Gemini. Some of this is unrealistic, an unrealistically negative focus. Now the Five of Cups is clarified by the World, which is a card of having a fairly significant chapter of your life come to a close or come to an end, and taking the time to kind of stop and look out at the possibilities which lie ahead of you. Generally quite a positive major arcana card. The World represents having reached the top of a particularly significant mountain, and you're looking forward at what lies ahead, which represents that something has come to an end, or some kind of cycle has closed off. And I feel like it's been a rather long-lived cycle for some of you. Now, what area of your life this is going to resonate in is going to vary, because this is a general reading. For some of you, it might be a relationship. I mean, there's quite an emotional element in here as well. Emotions and thoughts over an ending, or you're walking away, somebody else is walking away. Could be in career, work, and finance, although it feels quite emotional. But of course, if maybe some long-term jobs come to an end or downsized or something of that sort, it could be that. Definitely grieving over a loss, but not really. I mean, Spirit wants you to take a look at what's in your environment still and what lies ahead of you. And your challenge, Gemini, is you're not seeing that because you're only focused on the negativity of what's happened, or the loss, or the grief, or the change. And Spirit is really trying to get you to kind of focus forward as well. Now next to that, we have the Eight of Cups clarified by the Ten of Swords. It's a challenging sort of energy, quite. Especially with that Nine of Swords. The Eight of Cups represents walking away, turning your back on something, leaving it behind because there's been a sense of disappointment, disillusionment, something, whatever these cups represented in the beginning has turned out differently, or turned out not to be what you wanted or expected. And you're turning your back and walking away, or somebody else is turning their back and walking away, and there's a sense of grief over this. Now what clarifies it is the Ten of Swords, which is sometimes referred to as a stabbed in the back card, the betrayal card. It's a 10, which in the tarot often represents something coming to a close, a cycle ending, or something coming to culmination and fruition. It's regardless of the tarot deck, it's usually, I mean, the depiction is usually not pleasant looking, but the positive aspect of this is that you're not going to go any higher than the 10. Whatever happened to put this man or woman face down on the ground looks like it was challenging, painful, traumatic even. But there is a golden light shining through these swords. It is a healing light. It's time to get up, brush yourself off, stop focusing on what has been lost or what has happened. It's time to start thinking about moving forward and looking forward. You can see that the sun is rising in the background, a new day is dawning, the animals are beginning to return to the scene, which are all really positive and great signs of, even after a major catastrophe, there is still recovery, and that recovery is happening. And Spirit really wants you to kind of focus on that rather than on whatever the cause of this pain or change or loss was. For some of you, I feel like some of you, this may be somebody betrayed you somehow, or there is some sense of betrayal by a person or a situation of some kind, and there has been an ending and you are walking away, and you're focused almost completely on the grief of the situation and not really on what still remains in your life as blessings to be grateful for, any opportunities, and definitely having difficulty looking forward and ahead, which Spirit really wants you to do. Some of you, I feel like some of you, maybe you have been the one to hurt or betray someone. They may be walking away, or there may have been an ending, or something has changed irrevocably, but the focus is only on that and not on, is there anything else that remains here? And also, if not, what am I looking forward to? What lies ahead here? Excuse me, a more challenging reading. Sorry about that, Gemini. I spent all that time getting over that bronchial thing just in time to catch a cold. It's the season here. It's been a wet, rainy winter here. All right, let's pull some clarifying cards, see if we can get any more clarity into this situation, at least for the first half of April. I'm really getting quite the strong message, Gemini, that Spirit, You know, we don't want to forget the lessons that have come from this loss, whether it was caused by somebody else or from you. We definitely want to move forward, taking the value of the lessons that we learned from this. But Spirit really wants you to start looking ahead and looking around at what's still positive in your life and what opportunities still remain for you. So let's take a look at this ending, at this loss. Okay, we have Death and the Page of Wands. Okay, I'm getting this message quite clearly. I mean, you have all of these, you know, cards which represent, you know, a chapter closing, some kind of ending. Even if, I mean, you know, it, for those of you for whom this is a relationship, and maybe for many of you, it may be that the relationship is at an end, that the relationship itself is over. Some of you, it may be that you're still in the relationship, but there's been a very difficult time, perhaps a betrayal energy of some kind by the other person, by you, and you're still together, but something has changed. There has been an ending to a certain part of the relationship, and it will need to transform in order to move forward. Some of you, it's just an ending, and you're needing to move forward and disconnect from this, because death usually represents the ending of something which has been there for quite some time, because the ground needs to be cleared for something else to be planted or something to be completely transformed. But it's accompanied by the Page of Wands, which is a similar energy to what I'm getting here. Yes, it looks like it was very difficult or challenging, and still is, but there's too much of the focus on that and not on what blessings you still have in your life and what opportunities lie ahead for you, because the Page of Wands is sort of like an exciting new beginning. Pages are young, they're the messengers, they're just starting off again. Pages almost always represent being at the introductory start of a path of something, because of their youth and age and optimism. And the Page of Wands can often represent being at the beginning of something else, and the slate kind of being wiped clean, and that's the strong message I'm getting from this. I don't even feel like Spirit wants to allow me to clarify the situation that this is or was, because it feels very clear to me that God, Spirit, your angels and guides do not even want you to spend any more time or energy dwelling on what the source or cause of this was. It is done. It is over. It is closed out. The slate is wiped clean, not meaning that, you know, you can't erase history, but the Page of Wands is starting off again. There's a sense of enthusiasm. He knows he's at the beginning of the path. There's a long way to go, but he's kind of excited about it. It represents a kind of being at the beginning, the slate wiping clean, starting over again, a new start, and you have the opportunity and the blessing of enthusiasm and momentum on your side, because this is definitely closed out, whatever this is. So let's pull, because this looks like a more challenging, you know, quite a challenging energy, let's pull an advice and guidance card for you, Gemini, to see what Spirit has. I mean, other than what they've made clear, which they've made pretty clear. The time for moving on is now, for looking forward is now. Let's see any other advice or guidance that they have for you for the first half of April 1st through the 15th, 2019 for Gemini. The Magician. Yep, it's up to you, Gemini. The Magician is a very powerful, independent, entrepreneurial kind of energy. He's worked long and hard to get to where he's at now, which is the Magician. He has reached mastery and control over each of the primary symbols for each of the tarot. This is about having, it is in your control to manifest what you want. The Magician has all the knowledge, experience, wisdom. He's learned from everything that he's been through, both his triumphs and his failures, his successes as well as his defeats, which is why he's reached a point where he's the Magician now. This is about taking all of your knowledge, experience, wisdom, tools, know-how from the path you've already walked, pairing that with your will, perseverance, determination to externally and outwardly manifest whatever it is that you want to manifest in your life, and that you have the ability to do that. Needing very little, if any, help from anybody else, because it's a very independent, entrepreneurial sort of energy. So it's really kind of You have what you need to move forward in your life. Your challenge here, Gemini, is in obsessing, dwelling, focusing only on what's happened, the grief, the change, the loss, whether it was something that happened, you know, from somebody else coming in towards you, or vice versa, or some combination of that. It is definitely at an end. You are starting over again, and it is, you have the power to manifest what you want now moving forward. It's time to kind of, you know, get up off your knees, brush yourself off, take the lessons with you that you've learned, and move forward and take a look at what's ahead of you rather than what's behind you. So very powerful reading. Difficult and challenging, the energy, certainly. Endings, even under the best of circumstances, can be painful. And this is about moving forward from that, Gemini. So Gemini, that pretty much wraps up your April 2019 1st through the 15th general reading. I hope that you found it helpful and useful. I often say I hope you enjoyed this reading, but you know, I mean, some readings are just look more challenging and painful than others, so I'm not going to say that, but I hope that you find it useful, because it really is time to move on, and Spirit really wants you to focus on what lies ahead, because there's some beautiful things that lie ahead for you, particularly in looking at this World card. So Gemini, if any of you are interested in scheduling a personal one-on-one reading with me, particularly if this resonated for you, you can click on the description link below for more info and contact details. Go to my YouTube channel's homepage, click on that About button. You can email me directly at Maggie1McGuire@gmail.com. I would be happy to work with you. I do love and romance, of course, compatibility charting, career, work, and finance, investment readings, gift readings, and I also offer 6 and 12-month overviews, which take a look at what's coming in your life over the next 6 or 12 months and all the main sectors of your life, depending on how far ahead you want to look at. So a few different things for you to consider. You can also find me on the smartphone app Instantgo under Irish Gypsy. That link is also provided. And there's a few different reading options on there too, but most clients utilize that for more of the quick answers to the quick, easy questions. For something intensive or complicated, probably a more traditional reading is best. So whatever you might be interested in. So Gemini, I will see you all again in a couple of weeks for the April 2019 mid-month readings, where we'll take a look at the last half of April. And until then, as always, I wish you joy, peace, blessings, much strength, and a happy life. Take care. Bye-bye.